is up, everyone? I'm Jeff Lund, and this is the Mediocre Alaskan Podcast, where we are intolerant of weak-minded attitudes that keep people from pursuing new and exciting things in the areas of fitness, outdoors, and general lifestyle. Today I'm going solo. Just got back to Mediocre headquarters here in Ketchikan, Alaska, from a basketball trip. We went to a tournament. I took the JV girls that I coach over to a tournament. 3 days, went 1-2, but we're playing some 1A varsity girl teams that are pretty solid. Ketchikan is a 4A school, so it's the largest division in the state, even though Ketchikan High School is one of the smallest, if not the smallest, 4A's classification. Every school above about 400 is considered 4A. So when you go to state to play, you're playing some of the bigger Anchorage schools that are close to 2,000, if not over 2,000. So anyway, so our JV team was in a tournament playing some 1A varsity teams. Kind of interesting. Going back to Klawock to coach there. Everybody asked me if it's weird to go back because I grew up in Klawock and I graduated from Klawock High School. People ask me if it's weird to go back there and coach, and it sort of is. And I think it's not just because you're coaching against the high school that you graduated from, which happens a lot, but there's something different when you're from Alaska, especially rural Alaska, because you're not coaching against, the basketball team you used to play for. You're coaching against the entire town. And so many of the small communities identify so much with the basketball team, and they claim the members of the basketball team. So I grew up claimed by not only the sports team. I not only wore the uniform of a chieftain, but I was also claimed as the community as a member of the team. I was a Klawock chieftain. That was my identity. And so when we traveled, we went to these towns, and you're representing your town too, not just a school. If you go to a bigger town and there's 4 or 5 high schools in the town, you're just representing your slice of that town. But when you're from a small rural community in Alaska, you're representing the entire town and the values of that town and the people. And so it's pretty intense. There can be a lot of pressure, but the amount of support that there is, and you're looking at a town of 600, 700, 800 people, funding travel for these teams, the amount of sacrifice, the amount of money that goes into allowing the team to go travel and have these experiences and represent them is pretty amazing. So, yeah, going back was definitely difficult. At first, this is the third time I've now been back there wearing, my new school's maroon. But as far as the travel thing goes, I know I have some listeners down in California, but the biggest thing, it's so hard to explain the travel budget and the travel experience up here because we never take a bus to a game. The longest traveling I did when I coached in California was a 45-minute bus ride, and kids would complain about getting bus sick or motion sickness because it was such a long drive. And I just laughed because growing up in Klawock, we went on long trips, and we took airplanes, we took boats. When I was a junior, or when I was a sophomore, it was a junior year. The 2A conference in Southeast Alaska was comprised of 9 teams that were all across Southeast Alaska. The only school that you could drive to that was in the conference was either Thorn Bay and Heidelberg. Every other school was north, and we're talking about a 600-700 mile difference from the very top school down to the very southern school. So you're taking very small planes to go to these very small towns. You're taking boats, and you're out there for days. When I was a junior, we went on a trip that required us first to go to Skagway first, I believe. No, it's Yakutat. There we go. So we go we take a boat from Ketchikan from Klawock to, I'm all jacked up right now. This is I'm kind of excited, or maybe the memory of it is so traumatic that I can't even get my facts right. So we drove from Klawock to Hollis, got on a boat for 3 hours from Hollis to Ketchikan, got on a plane to go from Ketchikan to Juneau to Yakutat. We played 2 games in Yakutat. We slept on the floor of a math room, which is standard. A lot of these places don't have hotels. Most of them don't at the 2A level. The bigger towns, Ketchikan, Sitka, and Juneau in southeast Alaska, obviously have hotels. So we're sleeping on the floor. You bring an air mattress. You bring a sleeping bag. We played 2 games in 2 days there. And then the runway lights were being funky. This is in January, dead of winter, and the runway lights were being funky, and so Alaska Airlines wasn't sure if they'd be able to land and get us to Juneau on the southbound flight. And so they said, okay, we're going to put you on the northbound flight that goes to Cordova and then to Anchorage. And if you get out a Google Doc, it might be a good thing to get a Google map here so you can look at some of these towns, because this is pretty crazy. So we flew from Yakutat to Cordova and then to Anchorage, and then got on the southbound flight that was supposed to go Anchorage, Cordova, Yakutat, Juneau, but because the runway lights weren't working and the afternoon flight was going to land when they were required, they figured if you can't land there, that's fine. They're going to overshoot to Juneau, and you'll be where you need to be. So that was the plan, get on the northbound flight to Anchorage. That way, when it's coming south, if it skips Yakutat, that's fine, because you won't be on the flight, or won't be getting on the flight in Yakutat. So Yakutat, Cordova, Anchorage, Cordova, the runway lights work, so we land in Yakutat, which made the entire trip north, Cordova, Anchorage, and then Cordova, Yakutat, totally unnecessary. I'm pretty sure we got miles for it. We get down to Juneau, and then we get on a boat to Skagway. At this point, we've been delayed. I think we were late getting into Yakutat, maybe even delayed a day getting out of Yakutat because of weather. So we can't get to Skagway on time. We take a boat from Juneau to Skagway. Because we're behind schedule and we have to be in Gustavus for our other games, we played 2 games in 1 day. We had to get it officially cleared by ASA, which is the governing body of high school sports in Alaska. So our girls team played a basketball game, then we played a game, then our girls played again, then we played again. So 2 games in 1 day, and then we get on a boat and leave Skagway. Get back to Juneau, get stuck in Juneau. The girls continue home because Gustavus didn't have a team. So at this point, we're at day 7 or 8, I believe, because we were late getting to Yakutat, played 2 games in 2 nights there, late getting out of Yakutat, then up to Skagway, played 2 games in 1 day. We're in Juneau, and there's no ferry that goes to Gustavus, which is at the mouth of Glacier Bay. So we are waiting for the skies to clear so we can take a very small, one of those 7 or 8 person planes over to Gustavus. And the guy from the airline says, "Hey, are you 2 brothers?" Looking at 2 of my teammates, Ryan and Brian, who are twins. And he says, they said, "Yeah, we're twins. All right, we're going to have to put you on separate flights because that's just one of the things they do. So in case there is a crash, not both brothers go down with it." So there that is. Can't make it out of Juneau to get to Gustavus in the small plane, so we stay another night in Juneau. Next morning, we go out. They de-ice the plane by taking a broom to the wings, and then we fly to Gustavus. It's pretty good weather-wise, but we're circling. We can't get all the way down, so we fly back to Juneau, land in Juneau. It's about a 45-minute flight. As soon as we land, they say, "Oh, yeah, it's cleared in Gustavus." So we take back off, go to Gustavus, and as we're on final approach, the pilot, I remember this distinctly, I was sitting shotgun in this plane here, and the pilot says, "Man, the depth perception sucks," because Gustavus had 7 or 8 feet of snow, and so you've got 7 or 8 feet of white snow, and then you've got this runway that is white, and so he's trying to land it. I'm like, wow, if you're off by 7 or 8 feet when you're trying to land a plane, that kind of becomes a big deal. We land fine, no big deal. I get to Gustavus, and it's a Friday, I think, so they had school, and they have this little pep assembly, and there's literally only 7 boys in the high school. There's only 13, 14, or 15 kids in the high school total. So they have a little pep rally, and they invite us to be there, which is kind of bizarre to invite us to the pep rally. But we're there. They kind of do their thing. It's pretty quick. They announce the players, and then we were sleeping in the gym on this one, and the gym has no bleachers. It's just like a huge shed, and there's maybe 3 or 4 feet between the sideline and out of bounds. And on the baseline, on one side, there's the same 3 to 5 feet. At the entryway of the gym, there are 2 little bathrooms and then stairs up to a little loft, which is where they had some weights. And it was like a little makeshift weight room, which is where we slept. So seniors got to push some of the bench presses together to make kind of a bed, but everybody else slept on the wooden floor that had a little bit of carpeting over it. So the people show up to the game, and they're just sitting on the side. They didn't bring chairs, they just sit on the side and using the side of the gym as a little backrest. And they're cheering for everything. It's crazy. They're not necessarily cheering for the home team. We whooped them pretty good. But, we made a shot, and they're cheering. Little kids on the sideline are, I hit a three-pointer, and the gym was actually so low that I shot a three-pointer from the corner, and I hit a light. I don't have an extreme amount of arc on my shot, but I did have some arc, and it hit a light. And I hit a couple other threes and running down court, and kids are giving me high five. And this is crazy. It's just a bizarre place, but so welcoming, so friendly. They just cheered for good basketball. Like I said, we won the first night, won the second night, and then because we got stuck again because of weather, again, the only way out is these small little bush planes. We did another scrimmage and played again, and they're just cheering for everything. I got stuck there another night, and so we're there for 4 nights total, I'm pretty sure.
After years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by big wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch. So when I first heard that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month, I thought, what's the catch? But after talking to them and using their service, it all made sense. There isn't one. Mint Mobile's secret sauce is that they're the first company to sell wireless service online only. They cut out the cost of retail stores and pass those sweet savings directly to you. For anyone who hates their phone bill, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. I was hesitant about having to get a new phone and a new phone number, but with Mint, you can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone and your same phone number along with all of your existing contacts. Mint Mobile gives you the best rate whether you're buying for one or for a family, and at Mint, families start at 2 lines. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and to get the plans shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/waypoint. That is mintmobile.com/waypoint. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/waypoint.
In the end, we ended up getting back home, and it ended up being 16 days. It was supposed to be an 11-day trip, and it ended up being 6 days because we had an extra day in Yakutat, or an extra day or 2 in Yakutat, a couple days in Juneau, and then a couple days in Gustavus that were late. So, again, this has been 17, 18 years now, so my numbers could be off by 1 or 2. I know that Ryan and Brian have been listening from back east. So if you can clarify any of that, shoot me an email or shoot me a text and let me know what I may have missed. I know Justin, if you're listening, and John Rahman, you guys were on the trip too. But crazy, and that's. When you're gone that long and you're with your classmates for that long, that's what basketball experience is. That's why in Alaska it's different than anywhere else, because you don't have those same sort of experiences. You are traveling with these people and you're having real experiences. It's not a 45-minute bus ride. You play your game, you sit in the bleachers, you drive home, and then you sleep in your own bed. You are on the road. You are 4 days past the last pair of clean underwear and socks. You are playing 6 games in the same, you bring both uniforms, but you're playing, 3 or 4 games in the same uniform. So it's standing up on its own by the end of the trip, and you just smell and you just reek. And it was before cell phones, and so you just spent time with people. You spent time with your teammates, and you got through the time with them. There was no, Snapchat story. There was no social media. There was no getting on Facebook. There was nothing else. You communicated with other people by getting those prepaid calling cards. And so everyone would wait for their turn at the payphone. So you could use the prepaid calling card to call someone, call your parents, call whoever to say, hey, we're not getting out of Gustavus. We're going to be stuck another day. And your parents say, oh, okay, well, just, let us know what's going on. And, everything being okay, it's not a huge deal. It's like, well, where's my son? My son was supposed to be home 4 days ago. Is everything okay? It's just sort of that laid back, hey, man, that's travel in Southeast Alaska. That's you're on a basketball trip. So, all right, supposed to be gone 4 days. If you're gone 5, might happen. If you're gone 6, not really a big surprise. So you talk about depth of connection. When I was a basketball player at Klawock High School, it was that deep. It was that intense when it came to the travel, and what it meant to be a part of the team was something more than just my year that I was on, JV, and then I was on varsity and this and that. It was so much more than getting free T-shirts and being a part of that. It's big time. And then now as a coach at Ketchikan High School, a bigger school, we still go on trips, but there's no one in the conference that is on the same island as Ketchikan is, and so we take almost, well, I wouldn't say charter, but if you're talking 12 girls and 3 coaches, you're going on a varsity basketball trip. That's a pretty expensive Alaska Airlines bill. So we take Alaska Airlines to go play our games in Juneau to play Thunder Mountain and to play Juneau Douglas High School. And we're staying in hotels or get housed out. So you have people in the community who have kids that are in high school too, and our kids will stay at their homes in groups of 2 or 3. Give them a place to sleep. A lot of times it's still on the floor, but maybe there might be a bed available, cook them a meal or 2 possibly. And then when they are down to play us, we reciprocate. And so, their team arrives on Alaska Airlines, get them up to the high school, you figure out who you're being housed with, and in groups of 2 or 3, the opposing teams will stay in our homes. Or when we're doing a road trip, we will stay in their homes. Coaches get a hotel because we wouldn't get housed out. That's weird. So that's totally dynamic. You're going to play this person tonight. Like, it's your arch rival, and you're staying in their home for the 2 now or the 3 nights that you're there to play. And I can't imagine how awkward that is. We got housed out when I was in cross country, which isn't a huge deal. Like, I'm going to run, and you're faster than me, not a big deal. But when you're talking about basketball, and you're talking about we got a game tonight against you, and you wake up in the same house, and you're, sharing breakfast, whatnot. It's a really weird dynamic, but certainly interesting. As far as crazy stories at the 4A level, last year we were coming back from Juneau and landed in Sitka, and Alaska Airlines had their crew change in Sitka. So we sat there for at least an hour on the tarmac as the new crew got in there, and the weather in Ketchikan was worsening. So we got to Sitka fine. We take off from Sitka. It's maybe a 35-minute flight to Ketchikan. As we're coming on final approach into Ketchikan, it's really bumpy because it's winter, of course, but not awful. Definitely been in worse. But Alaska Airlines has these lighter planes that apparently aren't as good in turbulence, and so we're getting final approach. You can see town, it's right there. And then all of a sudden, the engines just scream, and we take off. And oh man, we missed the landing. That's fine. A lot of times I'll just loop around and give it another shot. But after we just rocket back up into the clouds, which of course makes everyone nervous because you're feeling the turbulence as you're landing. And then all of a sudden you're getting close. You're expecting, within 30 seconds or so, you're going to be on the ground. And then all of a sudden you're shooting back up into the clouds. Captain came on and said, hey, we're going to offshoot. The winds are too extreme. We're going to shoot to Seattle, which is an hour and a half south. So we were anticipating going from Juneau to Sitka to Ketchikan in about 3 hours, including an hour layover. and we end up going all the way down to Sitka, or all the way down to Seattle. We land in Seattle. I had to help chaperone the debate team that was there. So I was with the girls team as well, but I had to help. There was an issue, and one of the male chaperones had to go with a kid who was sick, and so I was the designated male chaperone for the debate team, which didn't make a big difference because we're all going to be in the same plane, whatever. But because we had to offshoot down to Seattle, and the debate team got booked on an evening flight from Seattle back to Ketchikan, I then had to go with the debate team that night, while the girls basketball team that I helped coach stayed overnight in a hotel. Alaska Airlines was kind enough to give us hotel vouchers, which they didn't have to because it was weather related. So that was really great. They're putting these kids up in a hotel. So as soon as we land in Seattle, it's about an hour and a half later. The debate team and myself are loading up on the airplane to head back north, and not too turbulent at first, and then as soon as we kind of get in Alaska airspace, it just gets just rowdy, just awful. We're getting tossed around, way worse than the first time, and I'm thinking, this is not even, what are we doing here? But we get on final approach again, and I see the lights, and by this point, I'm just so tired. I just want to be there. We left Juneau at 6 in the morning, got to Sitka, sat there, overshot Ketchikan to get to Seattle, and now I'm back above Ketchikan. Please, just try it. I'm thinking, just try it. Kind of irrational, pretty irrational. Just try it, pilot. Please don't. But same sort of thing, man. We're just rocking. It didn't even feel like we had the turbulence that kind of knocks you off your descent. It was like we were in a constant sway. Like we didn't even have a flight path. We were just totally being bounced around the entire time. Same sort of spot, and then again, as expected, the jets rev again. We're back up in the clouds. The pilot comes on and says that we had gusts to 90 miles an hour, so we're going to head back to Seattle. And I'm thinking, well, if you knew that the gusts were that bad, then why did we even try it? All right, so we head all the way back to Seattle, stay the night in a hotel. By this point, it's late. Alaska Airlines gives us a travel voucher, and so myself and the female chaperone for the debate team get the voucher from Alaska Airlines, go to a hotel, stay there for about 4 hours, sleep, get back up for the morning flight to get back to Ketchikan, meet the girls' basketball team who slept well because they weren't on that evening return flight. They went out to eat. And we all meet at the airport, and Alaska Airlines says, hey, you know what, the weather's pretty bad. There's a chance that we won't make it to Ketchikan, so we're going to put you on the noon flight. So we're at the airport at 7 a.m. to get this early flight, which they're not sure we can make it. So rather than overshoot to Juneau, which is where we just were the day before, we take the noon flight, we land no problem, and we're back. So chaos, absolute chaos. You fly up to Juneau on a Thursday, you play Friday, you play Saturday, Sunday, you're on your way back. You end up in Seattle. You stay the night in Seattle, and you're back Monday. Just absolute chaos. But again, that's travel in Southeast Alaska. To be an athlete, to be a high school athlete in Southeast Alaska, those sort of things that happen, especially this time of year with basketball and bad weather. So there you have it. There's a little insight to what it is to be an athlete and coach in Southeast Alaska. Way different than anywhere else in the world. Well, at least the U.S., but when you're talking high school basketball, pretty unique. This last trip that I'm just getting back from, took the team over Wednesday after school. My mom still lives in Klawock, and so we, the 11 girls on the basketball team, slept on the floor in the living room. I had a bedroom. The female chaperone had a bedroom, and that's where we slept. Slept there Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. Played 3 games. The boys' basketball team from Ketchikan stayed on the stage at the school, so they were sleeping in the gym. And came back today, and there it is. Nothing crazy about it. Standard operating procedure for athletics in Southeast Alaska. A little bit different. So I'm going to call that episode whatever was it, 16. Little insight into what it's like to be a real Alaskan. Something else that people will probably not believe until you hear it. Something that most people probably haven't even thought of. When you come up here on a cruise, you think, well, hey, I'm on a cruise, and here's Ketchikan, great, and that's wonderful, and you have all these, you kayak and you whatever. Probably don't even think about how the logistics happen when it comes to traveling for athletics. Do we have a team? Of course we have a team. We have good teams, and we have to travel a lot. And it's crazy, and you learn a lot of skills from it. You learn how to be good teammates. You learn how to manage money. You learn how to self-manage. You learn how to study on the road. You learn how to solve problems, and you learn how to be miserable. You learn how to be miserable and be okay with it because there's no choice. That will do it for episode 16 of the Mediocre Alaskan podcast. Make sure you go to themediocrealaskan.com for content, previous episodes, plus columns and things like that I write for other publications. It's kind of a hub of all things mediocre. Check out lmtlifestyle.com, of course, for some last-minute Christmas gifts if you need anything at this point. You can follow me on Instagram at Alaska Lund, same thing Twitter, or on the Facebook Jeff Lund, and we will see you next time.